such as reckless separation, that would also be a goal. That would keep it so that there. Yesterday. 2008. Here it is, 2021. Year, did you say your first one was in? Okay, so we definitely want to address that issue. Anything that
All rise. 93rd District Court for Schoolcraft County is now in session. The Honorable Marquis Luma presiding.
Please be seated. Court will be in session. First matter we have is People versus Christopher Andrew Colgrove, file number 2107118. This matter is here for arraignment. Please state your full name, sir.
Christopher Andrew Colgrove.
Your mailing address, 213 Houghton Avenue, Manistee.
Yes, sir.
What is your date of birth?
4/20/1988.
Thank you. Mr. Colgrove, the complaint filed by the state charges that on or about July 24th, 2021 in the city of Manistee, Schoolcraft County, Michigan, you did operate a vehicle upon an area designated for the parking of vehicles while having an alcohol content of 0.08 grams or more per 100 milliliters of blood. It's charged that you were previously convicted of operating while intoxicated on or about April 24th, 2009 in the 93rd District Court. It's a misdemeanor known as operating while intoxicated as a second alcohol-related driving offense. It carries a fine of no less than $200 up to $1,000. Court costs could be added to that to more than triple that. Also, you may be ordered to, or you would be ordered to serve a minimum of 5 days in jail up to a year in jail with 30 to 90 days of community service or both. You could be ordered to engage in rehabilitative programs, pay for the cost of prosecution, and reimburse the government for emergency response and expenses for your prosecution. Vehicle immobilization is mandatory for not less than 90 days nor more than 180 days. And the Secretary of State would revoke your driver's license. Do you understand the charge and the possible maximum penalties?
Yes, Your Honor.
To that charge, you have a number of rights. Did you receive the advice of rights form today?
Yes, sir, I did.
And did you read and understand all of the rights listed on that form?
Yes, Your Honor.
And did you sign and date the form?
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll see that that gets in the court file. To this charge, you have the right to plead guilty, not guilty, or stand mute and say nothing at all. If you plead not guilty or stand mute, I'll set the matter for further proceedings and a trial. If you plead guilty, you'll be giving up all the rights listed on the advice of rights form, and there will not be a trial of any kind. If you are on probation or parole, a guilty plea could be a violation of that probation or parole. And also, if you plead guilty, you'll be giving up the right to have a lawyer represent you at public expense if you could not afford one. And Ms. Denholm is available if you wish to consult with her about how you want to proceed. Do you know how you want to proceed at this time?
Mr. Colgrove will stand mute today.
Okay, thank you. Court will enter a not guilty plea on your behalf. We'll set the matter for further proceedings. Anything further at this time, Ms. Denholm?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Colgrove's been in our jail since the 24th. And he certainly, I think, would be eligible for bond. I know that he has some prior history with this court. However, this was a driving offense that did not involve any huge speeds. It didn't involve any accident. It didn't involve any injury or property damage. His PBT at the jail was a 0.12, so not exceptionally high. He has employment. He has a regular residence in the community. He's never failed to appear for a court date. And he needs to attend to getting his substance abuse assessment taken care of. I think we talked about Mr. Colgrove on Monday at our team meeting. And so in order to get those things accomplished, I would ask that the court release him on a PR bond today. And Mr. Colgrove has something he wants to say as well.
Yes, I already had seeked out for assessment with Lisa Tatro. I talked to her yesterday, and I already planned on making meetings with her because I do know I have a problem and I need to stop. So I'm already getting that figured out. So I don't know if that would help the situation at all. But
I think he's not a danger to the community and he's not a risk of absconding.
Okay, by way of housekeeping, are you requesting court-appointed attorney, Mr. Colgrove?
yes.
Okay, you'll need to fill out the application. If you're qualified, the court will appoint the Schoolcraft County Public Defender's Office to represent you.
And he is qualified, Your Honor.
All right, where are you employed, Mr. Colgrove?
Olson and Olson, sir, right out of Manistee here.
All right. All right, the court will, what is the current bond? It indicates that information is not in the ROA yet. So what is the current bond?
I think it's 5,000, 10%. All right.
Yeah, it's 10% of $5,500.
You can't post that, is that correct?
You can't.
I would prefer PR bond, sir, because like I said, I've always show up to court. I'm not a flight risk. I live right here in Manistee, so I can make it to court anytime. I want to just get this over with. I'm not trying to hide or anything like that.
Okay. I'll reduce the bond to 5,000 personal recognizance. The conditions will be to complete your assessment and follow the recommendations and sign releases to the court. That's your substance abuse assessment.
Okay.
Also, there'll be a provision of no use of intoxicants, illicit controlled substances, or marijuana.
Okay.
Today, are you going to test clean for marijuana?
We'll test positive or hot for marijuana today. So
I might test positive today because, obviously it's illegal, so I was using.
All right, well, you can't use it anymore, so we'll check for levels.
But if I fail today, would I still be for marijuana? Okay, all right.
But if your levels are going up or staying the same for marijuana, then we'll know that you're violating your bond, so you are subject to random testing.
I agree.
No use of intoxicants or illicit controlled substances or marijuana. All other substances except marijuana, you must test free in order to get released. I'm going to order a sober link tether as well. And you'll have to pay the cost of that.
Okay.
All right. Anything further?
If I might, just on behalf of the probation department, Your Honor.
Yes.
We have had I believe Mr. Colgrove's representation of, his not appearing for court purposes is probably accurate. We have had instances in the past with Mr. Colgrove where we've been unable to locate him, unable to test him. And I would recommend that you do a sentry condition as well as a Life 360 condition on Mr. Colgrove for the ease of the pretrial release agent to monitor him.
Okay.
Do you have a cell phone, Mr. Colgrove?
Yes, I do have a cell phone, Your Honor.
Okay.
Would you like the number?
No, not at this time, but you'll need to provide that to the court because you'll be obligated also as a condition of bond that you engage in the Century program, and the court staff will explain that to you. Also that you download the Life 360 app so that we can track your whereabouts.
Okay. May I add to that,
If you change your mailing address, you must immediately notify the court. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, and before, like, I was hard to find before, was a lot of times I was working out of town last year, 2 years ago, or whatever that was. I was out of town a lot working. So,
Okay, that's resolved.
okay, well, all right. Yeah, that's all I had to say about that.
All right, and I'll add that you must keep your phone on you at all times and keep it charged.
Okay.
And if you're going to an area where there's no cellular coverage, you need to notify the court.
All right.
All right, and that way we'll know where you're going. All right, anything further, Ms. Denholm?
Not in this meeting. Okay, that's it, copy.
Thank you, that will complete that proceeding.
Okay.
Who do you have next, Ms. Denholm?
We have Jason Jack in the hallway.
Take that matter next then. People versus Jason Kenneth Jack. This is file number 2107116. This matter is set for arraignment. Please state your full name, sir.
Jason Kenneth Jack,
Is your mailing address 700 West Elk Street, Manistee?
yes, sir, for now,
What is your date of birth?
7/27/79.
Mr. Jack, the complaint filed by the state charges that on or about July 25th, 2021 in the city of Manistee, Schoolcraft County, Michigan, you did knowingly or intentionally possess methamphetamine contrary to law. That is a felony that carries up to 10 years in the state's prison and or a fine of up to $15,000. Sanctions against your driver's license and DNA identification profiling samples would be obtained from you. Do you understand the charge and the possible maximum penalties?
Yes, sir.
To that charge, you have a right to have a preliminary examination, which is a hearing where the prosecutor must prove that a crime was committed and that probable cause exists to charge you with a crime. We'll set the probable cause conference for August 4th at 9 a.m. and the preliminary exam for August 16th at 11 a.m. You also have the right to have a lawyer represent you. If you want one and you cannot afford one, the court would appoint one at public expense. Are you requesting court-appointed attorney?
Yes, sir.
All
And
right,
he does
court.
qualify, Your Honor.
All right, if the application has been completed, the court will approve that, and it'll be your obligation to stay in contact with Ms. Denholm just as if you hired her. Also, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in court. Has bond been set in this matter?
Not that I'm aware of, Your Honor. We would like to address bond.
Well, you know the court's position on methamphetamine charges, so go ahead. Why should I?
Well,
Depart
Mr.
from-
Jack is a long-term member of the community, Your Honor, and with many times, I think he's a risk of absconding. He has a very limited criminal history consisting of a couple of misdemeanors, and that as far as I'm aware. He has some medical issues which need to be addressed. He was scheduled to to attend a medical appointment with a surgeon in Green Bay, which I think he's missed due to his incarceration. So he'll have to reschedule that because he's requiring reconstructive surgery. And so he needs to attend to that. It's a matter that really can't be addressed in the jail. I can't say that I can identify an address for him at this point, to be perfectly
go to my
honest, but he believes that he can arrange for residence with relatives.
Yes.
And if we can identify an address, I would ask that he be released on PR. The reason I ask that is because due to his injuries, he has not been able to be employed for the last 2 years, and so his income is very limited. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Do you have a cell phone?
No, sir, not at this time.
But you can get one, correct?
Yeah, I could get one, yes.
Okay. All right. Mr. Noble, any position on behalf of the people?
Well, I think, Your Honor, you hit it right off the bat. This is meth, but it's not just meth. We're not sure what the other substance found at this point is. We've had a couple of field tests, which aren't the way we normally see them. And I know, Your Honor, you didn't see the search warrants, but we had some field tests on another substance that was located in the residence near him. We have sent that off to the lab to try to figure out exactly what that is. The field tests weren't testing like they're normally test. They were giving some indication that it was a controlled substance, but then not in the same manner. So that said, that's on the substances in the house. The substance in the car was really clearly field testing positive for meth. There's methamphetamine pipes used for smoking methamphetamine. And then there's Mr. Jack's, I guess you would say it, in his prior cases, whenever we've had to deal with him, getting Mr. Jack is sometimes difficult. Police will go to the door, he won't come to the door type situations. And that's, of course, it wasn't him on this evening in question who started out after the police did, although they did most likely know he was there because his vehicle was there. That this started as a probation violation with a search warrant looking for another person, which led to Mr. Jack. But there is a little bit of a history here, especially over the last 2 or 3 years. Maybe not quite that long, but over a little bit of time. And so I would suggest that bond does need to be set at an appropriate amount, but it should be a cash bond at this point and absolutely no use of any controlled substance. And there will need to be regular testing on Mr. Jack fairly regularly lately in our drug cases as we're investigating those. His name was not new to us. So this really wasn't much of a surprise to us when we got it.
Thank you.
Your Honor, if I could interject, I have information that leads me to believe that the substance that was seized from the residence in question is not a controlled substance. And so, that not being established by any kind of a lab test or by the official lab test, that not be held against Mr. Jack. I think it's certainly appropriate to require him to test and to be monitored, but I don't
Has the
think.
defendant been tested?
I'm sorry?
Has the defendant been tested?
No, no one's tested me.
All right.
There was the night of the test, my understanding is a test was offered and there was a refusal to do so. Obviously, he doesn't have to do that, but there was one, my understanding is offered.
All right. Considering all the circumstances, the seriousness of the charge, that alone is sufficient to justify a bond. Methamphetamine is one of the most virulent poisons that's entered our community in ever. A person who uses methamphetamine has an 87% likelihood of immediate and severe addiction. That's astonishing. And in light of the refusal of a test, I'm going to set bond at $50,000 cash for surety. The conditions will be no use of intoxicants, illicit controlled substances, or marijuana. Defendant must test free of any intoxicants, illicit controlled substances, or marijuana to be released. Defendant would be subject to random drug testing at the request of the court or a police officer. Defendant must obtain a cell phone, download the Life 360 app, keep the phone with him at all times, and charge. Those will be the bond conditions.
Your Honor,
I'll review the bond again at the appropriate time that the court has more information. Anything further, Ms. Denholm?
Well, I did want to address the issue of marijuana because Mr. Jack is a user of legal marijuana, and so I would ask that that condition be modified to test for a level.
I'm not going to do that today, but I will consider that at the next proceeding. Thank you. That'll complete this matter.
Okay, thank you. Take that with you. Yeah. Chad's already over. Let's go and let them know.
Next matter is People versus Nicole Marie Lipinski. This is file number 2103048. Please state your full name.
Nicole Marie Lipinski.
Ms. Lipinski, you're here on a charge of violating your probation. There are a number of violations. As you know, you were placed on probation back on April 5th of this year. The first violation is charged that you are required to keep your phone on your person and charge at all time. And the probation agent is alleging that she was unable to locate you on the Life 360 app as required, and that she tried to respond to you on your cell phone and got no response. So that's a violation. And number two, you are prohibited from gambling or entering any casino or purchase any lottery tickets. And then once your probation officer gained access to your cell phone, she noticed that you've been online gambling, which is prohibited under the terms of your probation. The third charge is that you are required to submit a PBT and drug test at the agent's discretion. You failed to comply with drug testing orders as directed by probation agent Boyle. You were called in for a drug test on July 19th and the 21st, and you failed to appear. The fourth violation is that you are prohibited from using or possessing intoxicants or controlled substances. And after searching your residence on July 25th, Public Safety Officer Craig Jankowski found a white powdery substance in the bedroom of your residence and field tested for both methamphetamine and cocaine. Therefore, those are all violations of your probation. Do you understand what you're charged with?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Also, there are 365 days that you were sentenced to, with 5 days immediately back in April and suspended temporarily 360 days. So that is the maximum that you're facing if you are found in violation of your probation. Do you understand the maximum penalty?
I do.
Okay, to these charges, you have a number of rights. Did you receive the probation violation advice of rights form?
Yes.
Did you read and understand all the rights listed on that form?
Yes, I
And
do.
did you sign and date it as well?
She's about to
I
sign.
am signing and dating them right now.
Okay, that's all we need. And we have your address and then give that to Ms. Denholm for filing in the court file, please.
Done, Your Honor.
Thank you. To violating your probation, you have the right to plead guilty, not guilty, or stand mute and say nothing. If
Not
you-
guilty.
Okay. Do you understand that if you were to plead guilty, you'll be giving up all the rights listed on the advice of
Yeah.
rights form? Are you requesting court-appointed attorney?
Yes.
And she does qualify.
Okay, the court will appoint the Schoolcraft County Public Defender to represent you, and it'll be your obligation to stay in contact with her just as if you hired her. If
Absolutely.
you change your mailing address, immediately notify the court. Has there been a bond set on this probation violation?
Not that I'm aware of, Your Honor, and we would ask that bond be set.
All right. At this time, I'm gonna set it at 10,000 cash or surety. Conditions of, will be to comply with all probationary requirements.
Could we address that bond?
Not at this time. Okay, thank you.
Which means you'd have to give them.
Next matter,
I can do that.
we'll wait for Ms. Denholm to get back here. Mr. Lemire, do you have a matter?
Arraignment for Mr. Lamar.
Okay, we'll take that next.
Thank you, Judge.
This is the matter of People versus Tanner Scott Holmberg. This is file number 2107110. Please state your full name, sir.
Holmberg,
Is your mailing address 8903W Thompson Street, Manistee? And what is your date of birth?
it's 128.99,
What is it?
128.99.
Mr. Holmberg, the complaint filed by the state charges that on or about July 19, 2021 in Thompson Township of Schoolcraft County, Michigan, you did operate an ORV while having an alcohol content of 0.08 grams or more per 100 milliliters of blood contrary to law. That is a misdemeanor known as operating while intoxicated on an ORV. It carries a maximum punishment of up to 93 days in the county jail, a fine of no less than $100, up to $500. You could be ordered to perform up to 360 hours of community service. The court is required to suspend your privilege to operate an ORV for a minimum of 6 months, up to 2 years. You may be ordered to pay for the cost of prosecution and reimburse the government for emergency response and expenses for your prosecution. Do you understand the charge and the possible maximum penalty?
Yes.
To that charge, you also have a number of rights. Did you receive the advice of rights form?
Yes.
Did you read and understand all the rights listed on that form?
Yes.
And did you sign and date it?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. To this charge, you have the right to plead guilty, not guilty, or stand mute and say nothing at all. If you plead not guilty or stand mute, I'll set the matter for further proceedings. If you plead guilty, you'll be waiving or giving up all the rights listed on the advice of rights form, and there will not be a trial of any kind. If you are on probation or parole for any offense, a guilty plea could be a violation of that probation or parole. Also, if you plead guilty, you'll be giving up the right to have a lawyer represent you at public expense if you could not afford one. Mr. Lemire, are you appearing on behalf of the defendant in this case?
Yes, I am, Judge. I have my appearance here for you.
Okay, thank you. Do you know how the defendant wishes to proceed today?
We ask that you enter a not guilty plea on his behalf, Judge.
The court will enter a not guilty plea as offered.
We're waiting for the blood to come back. We believe we can get the matter resolved once we have that.
Thank you. We'll set the matter for further proceedings. In the meantime, there's a condition of your bond that you not use any intoxicants, illicit controlled substances, or marijuana. Can you do that?
Yes.
We'll continue your bond at this time. If you change your mailing address, notify the court immediately. Okay?
Thank you,
Anything
Your Honor.
further?
Thank you.
Thank you. And is Denholm available? Oh, there you are. Next matter is People versus Amanda Marie Zawanski, file number 2107119.
She has 2 files, Your Honor.
I only have one. Pardon me?
It should be there.
Oh, what do you have there, Ms. Denholm? I'm sorry. I did not see it in there. Maybe you can look through them. This is the one I have.
Oh, got this. Okay.
Okay, thank you. There's also, we have located the file. There's also a additional file, 2107112. Please state your full name, ma'am.
Amanda Marie Zawanski.
Is your mailing address 8559W 2nd Street, Manistee?
Yes.
And what is your date of birth?
7/27/1988.
Ms. Zawanski, the complaint in file 119 charges that on or about July 22nd, 2021 in Thompson Township of Schoolcraft County, Michigan. In count 1, you did operate a vehicle upon a highway, Little Harbor Road, while having an alcohol content of 0.08 grams or more per 100 milliliters of blood. That is a misdemeanor known as operating while intoxicated. It carries a maximum punishment of up to 93 days in the county jail, a fine of no less than $100, up to $500, up to 360 hours of community service. You may be ordered to participate in rehabilitative programs, pay for the cost of prosecution, and reimburse the government for emergency response and expenses for your prosecution. Also, the Secretary of State could take action against your driver's license based on your driving record. Do you understand that charge and the possible maximum penalties?
Yes.
Count 2, in file 112, it's charged that on or about June 20th, 2021 in Thompson Township of Schoolcraft County, Michigan, you did being the driver of a motor vehicle involved in an accident resulting in total damage to all property to an apparent extent of $1,000 or more. You did fail to forthwith report such accident to the nearest or most convenient police station or police officer contrary to law. That is a misdemeanor that carries up to 90 days in the county jail and or a fine of up to $100. Do you understand that charge and the possible maximum penalties?
Yes.
To these charges, you have a number of rights. Did you receive the advice of rights form
I
today?
did.
Did you read and understand all the rights listed on that form?
Yes.
And did you sign and date the form? Thank you. All right, thank you. To these charges, you have the right to plead guilty, not guilty, or stand mute and say nothing at all. If you plead not guilty or stand mute, I'll set the matter for further proceedings. If you plead guilty, you'll be waiving or giving up all the rights listed on the advice of rights form, and there will not be a trial of any kind. If you're on probation or parole for any offense, a guilty plea could be a violation of that probation or parole. And also, if you plead guilty to either charge, you'll be giving up the right to have a lawyer represent you at public expense if you cannot afford one, and Ms. Denholm is available to represent you if you wish to consult her prior to making your decision how you want to plead. Ms. Denholm, do you know how Ms. Zawanski wishes to proceed?
Yes, she'll be standing mute as to each case.
Or on both cases?
Yes.
Court will enter a not guilty plea on your behalf. We'll set the matter for further proceedings. Are you following all the bond conditions, including no use of intoxicants or illicit controlled substances?
Yes.
And I believe Ms. Zawanski has already made an appointment for substance abuse assessments that today.
We'll set the matter for them for pretrial, and we'll proceed accordingly. I know in file 119, there's a second, I prepared that's going to be probably the people's alternative charge on that matter. Okay, anything further on these cases?
These might
All
have.
right, thank you. Next matter is People versus Robert Casey Holmberg, file 2107120. Please state your full name, sir.
Robert Casey Holmberg.
You can come forward and have a seat there, please. Is your mailing address 1167 N Oak Street, Manistee?
That is my parents' house. I have my home address as 827S.
Could you say that again?
827S. County Road 442, Cooks, Michigan.
And that's a mailing address, right?
Yeah, that's my
And
home.
what's the zip code?
49817.
All right, thank you, sir. What is your date of birth?
11/7/1994.
Thank you. Mr. Holmberg, the charge filed by the state alleges that on or about July 24th, 2021, in Inwood Township of Schoolcraft County, Michigan, you did operate a vehicle upon a highway, County Road 442, while having an alcohol content of 0.08 grams or more per 100 milliliters of blood, contrary to law. That is a misdemeanor, and it carries a maximum punishment of up to 93 days in the county jail, a fine of no less than $100, up to $500. You may be ordered to perform up to 360 hours of community service, engage in rehabilitative programs. Vehicle mobilization would be mandatory if you had a prior alcohol-related driving offense on your record. You may be ordered to pay for the costs of prosecution and reimburse the government for emergency response and expenses for your prosecution. Also, the Secretary of State could take action against your driver's license based on your driving record. Do you understand the charge and the possible maximum penalties?
I understand.
To that charge, you also have a number of rights. Did you receive the advice of rights form?
I did.
And did you read and understand all of the rights listed on that form?
I did.
And did you sign and date the form? To this charge, you have the right to plead guilty, not guilty, or stand mute and say nothing at all. If you plead not guilty or stand mute, I'll set the matter for further proceedings and a trial. If you plead guilty, you'll be waiving or giving up all the rights listed on the advice of rights form, and there will not be a trial of any kind. If you're on probation or parole for any offense, a guilty plea could be a violation of that probation or parole. And if you plead guilty, you'll be giving up the right to have an attorney represent you. And Ms. Denholm is available to consult with if you wish at no cost to you. Again, if you plead guilty, you'll be giving up the right to have an attorney represent you at public expense if you did not. Do you know how you wish to proceed?
I have 1 second.
You may.
Mr. Holmberg's ready. You're on.
Do you know how you wish to proceed?
I'll plead not guilty.
Okay. We'll set the matter then for further proceedings. Make sure you're aware of all your conditions of bond. One including is that you not use intoxicants, illicit controlled substances, or marijuana. Can you follow that?
I have a medical marijuana card. I had a fractured skull and it gives me constant headaches.
All right, I'll accept that then.
Thank you.
But you cannot drive after using marijuana?
Yes, correct. No, I usually wait until night or if I'm gonna be home.
If there's any active THC in your system at all, you could be charged again.
Right, while I'm driving.
While driving,
Correct.
right?
Okay.
So as long as you understand that.
Yes.
We don't want you to get in trouble
No,
again.
I don't either. I just wanna make sure that's.
All right. If you change your mailing address, notify the court immediately. We'll be mailing the notice for your next court appearance to 827X County Road 442, Cooks, Michigan.
Is that good for change? Like that's changed as of right now? to
We'll put that
827?
into our system as your current address. If that changes, as long as you can receive mail at that address. Mr. Maddox, did you have a question?
No, Judge, just waiting for you to finish this proceeding.
Okay, thank you. All right, any questions, sir?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You're free to go. And again, you're requesting court-appointed attorney. You'll need to fill out the application.
All right. Yeah, I don't, he's not going for the hiring.
Okay.
Judge, just a real quick note, you do have a couple of people here that are not identified on Zoom. And I know that one of them is a pretrial, Abby told me this morning. So just, you may want to check the Zoom room before you proceed if you call any cases. I don't know who was supposed to be here, but we do have two defendants that are in the Zoom room.
Okay, all right. We'll take that in a minute. Mr. Mackey, are you ready to proceed on Ms. Goldie?
I am, Your Honor.
Thank you.
See where I'm going with that?
This is the matter of People versus Chelsea Joe Goldie, file number 2106097. Matter had been set for a plea and sentencing in lieu of pretrial. Is there a plea agreement in this matter?
I believe there is, Your Honor. I believe the defendant's going to plead guilty to the charge, if I'm not mistaken, correct? It's a 90-day misdemeanor for the failing to report accident to fixtures.
Yes, Your Honor, that is the agreement, and we are ready to move forward with that plea.
Okay, so there is no plea agreement? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I didn't bring other charges as a result of all
Oh,
of this.
okay, all right, okay.
Let's put it that
Very
way.
well. All right, thank you, gentlemen. Please state your full name.
Chelsea Joe Goldie.
Is your mailing address still 110 Weston Avenue, Manistee?
Yes, sir.
What is your date of birth?
March 12th, 1992.
Did you receive the advice of rights form again today?
Yes, I did.
Did you read and understand all the rights listed on that form?
Yes, I did.
And did you sign and date it?
Yes, I did.
All right. Do you understand if you plead guilty to the charge failure to report accident to fixtures that you'll be giving up all of the rights listed on the advice of rights form and there will not be a trial of any kind? Are you currently on probation or parole for anything?
No, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Mackey, on behalf of your client, what plea does she wish to offer to failure to report accident to fixtures?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Is that guilty plea entered with your consent, Ms. Goldie?
Yes, sir.
Other than what's been stated here today on the record, has anybody promised you anything in exchange to get you to plead guilty?
No, sir.
Has anyone threatened or forced you to get you to plead guilty?
No, sir.
Are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily and of your own choice?
Yes.
Were you operating a white 2004 Ford Super Duty truck back on June 17th here in the city of Manistee when this happened?
Yes, sir.
And whose vehicle was that?
Mine and my husband's.
Okay. And were you involved in a traffic crash at that time?
With the fire hydrant, yes, sir.
Tell me what happened.
I went down our street, at the end of our street, and turned around and got into a crash with the rolled out the truck and did damage to the hydrant.
And how much damage was done to the truck?
It was considered a total loss, so.
Your Honor, there's, I think, just for record purposes, and defense can, I believe Ryan knows this, the total restitution for the city in this matter with all the damage and repair and everything else was $16,251.83. It was an expensive one.
15,000.
16,251.83.
So fire hydrants cost that much?
They do when you have to bring in all that equipment to dig them up when they're broke off and they
So
flood
that
out.
includes labor and
Labor, parts, repairs, lost water because that was a broken fire hydrant running water for however long.
did you report the accident to the police?
Not right away.
And why not?
I was just in shock and ran home and.
Left everything right there. And how was the crash discovered then? Did the police find out on their own?
They found out from Burns, Garrett, the towing, Burns towing.
So someone came to tow the vehicle and you called the tow truck? All right, they got there and saw what was going on, so they called the police? Pardon me?
Yes, Your Honor.
We record the proceedings.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. All right. And had you been consuming or using any intoxicants or illicit controlled substances
Not at that time.
for that?
No.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Anything, are you satisfied with the record?
People are satisfied, Your Honor.
Are you satisfied, Mr. Mackey?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. The court is satisfied that your guilty plea was knowingly, voluntarily, and understandably made, and that there is an accurate factual basis to warrant a finding of guilty because on the date and location alleged in the complaint, you were involved in a traffic crash and that you failed. That resulted in damage to a fixture, in this case a fire hydrant, and you failed to notify the police or the city by going home and calling a tow truck instead. Therefore, a judgment of guilty will be rendered. And the court does infer that you had an opportunity to call the police. Do you wish to proceed to sentencing at this time?
People do, Your Honor.
Anything on behalf of the people?
Well, Your Honor, I saw the look on your face and heard how expensive this was, but just so everyone understands, a hydrant alone, just the cost of the hydrant is $2,845. That's just a new hydrant cost. In this case, there was 266,000 gallons of water that were lost before we could shut, not we, me, but the water department was notified so they could shut it off. That's $3,000 worth of just water loss at that point. So when you start looking at how expensive it is to do this, excavators, you got to dig all that stuff out. Like I said, it adds up pretty quickly. $4,000 worth of equipment.
Was the vehicle insured?
My understanding is yes, and my understanding is insurance is covering this.
Okay.
I'll have to follow up on all of that, but still, the people are requesting that total amount be entered, and then whatever insurance may not cover will fall to this defendant. This is a classic case I mentioned of, yes, this is a plea agreement. I didn't charge other stuff. This started with a classic car was stolen type argument, and you know, come on, we've heard that one before. Law enforcement hears that one quite often when they have a car in the ditch with a lot of damage. Oh, a car was stolen. Not a lot of cars get stolen in Manistee. They do. I'm not going to say they don't, but that's usually a good sign that something is wrong, is when that claim is made. And so the people are pursuing that for the filing of the false police report. But this is a reasonable resolution given everything here. And this is going to cost quite a bit to the defendant, whether it be through her insurance or through her own payments, through her and her husband's own payments. The key is to be honest. If someone had said something right away, could have saved $3,000 just from water damage right away and alone, and that would have saved money. So just important that we report the accident as soon as we reasonably can, especially when there's damage like this.
Thank you. Mr. Mackey, anything on behalf of your client?
Yeah, briefly, Your Honor, I would note that my client does, obviously has accepted responsibility for her actions in this matter. She does recognize the seriousness of it. However, with that said, I would note that it was never her intention to cause further problems in this. It's just a young woman who panicked after having an accident. Obviously, she knows now she should have just stayed there and called. But it was one of those panic situations. In regard to the damages, I do have a letter that was provided just a few days ago here that from her insurer, Progressive Insurance Company, and they have paid in full on the 23rd of July all damages to the city. So that has been paid. So there should be no further issue as far as that goes. They both for her vehicle as well as all the city damages were covered by the auto insurance in this matter. And then just moving past that, I think this is obviously a relatively minor crime in the grand scheme of things. I think the sentencing provisions that came into play this year on the no jail, non-probationary sentence certainly applies in this matter. That presumption should stay, and I think a appropriate sentence of fines and costs would be appropriate in this matter. She's made sure everything was taken care of as far as the damages, and she's ready to move on with her life and understand that this was a grave mistake on her part not to make the call at the time of the accident. And I can assure the court she won't make that mistake again. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Goldie, anything you wish to state that you want me to consider on your behalf?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Well, there's reasons that when you're involved in an accident, the accident has to be reported right away, especially if there's damage of fixtures. Sometimes it's a mailbox and the restitution is minimal. Other times it's a fire hydrant or something that creates more and more damages as time goes by, and you happen to be in that category. Unfortunately, it wasn't a person, and I know you feel that way. It'll be the sentence and judgment of the court that you pay fines and costs of $750. There's $125 in justice fees I'm required to assess in every case. $16,251.83 in a restitution, which the court will consider having been paid by the insurance company, or 75 days. Anything further?
Nothing from the people in this one, Your Honor.
Anything further?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Okay. You can take care of the fines and costs before you leave this morning.
Your Honor,
Okay.
I just, for judgment purposes, Judge, was that due and payable forthwith?
Forklift.
Forthwith, he said.
Oh, yeah, it's due forthwith. Sorry, my hearing is a little off today.
Thanks, Judge.
Oh, there was a forklift. That
No
was-
forklifts, Your Honor.
Okay.
That wasn't on the list of equipment.
All right, forthwith, yes. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Well, we have Mr. Mackey, Your Honor. I think if you want to call Mr. Pomeroy, he's sitting in for that. Just
Right.
clear him out of here.
Next matter is People versus Zachary Mark Pomeroy. This is file number 2103041. This matter is set for pretrial. Any resolution of this matter?
There is not. We had a trial, but the trial date didn't work, Your Honor. It was kind of like right in between some vacations and holidays. So I think where we're at is just setting it for trial. Mr. Stupak, who is the primary attorney in this, Trent Stupak, and I've had numerous discussions. I think we could set it for trial. If we could come to a resolution, great, but if not, we just need a trial date.
Okay. Do you have any witnesses that you are aware of that you plan on subpoenaing for the defense for trial?
It would be the same witnesses that would have been disclosed on prior. I don't have the exact knowledge of those as I'm filling in today, but everything should be the same witnesses, is my understanding.
I think we're, both defense and I are, at least Mr. Stupak and I are familiar with who all the witnesses will be. The only witness that's probably not listed is who the, whoever the lab technician is that did the lab stuff. And I'll provide that.
Okay, there's a blood test in this matter that's alleged, so you have two witnesses listed on the complaint, and
There will be the person that drew the blood at the hospital.
Denany.
Yep, the two troopers, Strom and Denny. The lab technician, it appears, is a Samantha Kellogg, and the person, I can give you the name of who drew the blood, looks like Kathleen Bradshaw, it appears, is the person that drew the blood at the hospital. So those are the witnesses that I would expect.
Okay, thank you. Are there any expert witnesses by the people other than the lab tech and the nurse that drew the blood?
I don't believe there would need to be, just the technician that did the testing.
Do you have any exhibits? I take it the lab report?
I have the lab report, Your Honor.
Is there
There may-
car or body
I was
cam?
just gonna say there, because this is a state police, I expected that they would have body cams. I have not reviewed it. But they usually have that if it was done in front of the car, because they have the cameras.
I know they were having car cam on a regular basis, but I haven't seen body cam with the state police. Is that?
Last I knew, state police had the car cameras, and on the bodies, they had the recording devices that went back to the car and were recording audio.
The audio.
Yes.
Judge, I have a trial date for you when you're ready.
Okay, go ahead.
September 22nd. Notice it for 9 a.m.
Thank you. We will set the matter then for retrial. Do you have any exhibits, Mr. Mackey, that you're aware of?
Nothing other than what was potentially already disclosed or discussed, if there were any.
All right, and I take it this would be a jury trial?
I believe that's the way it's scheduled before. Yes.
Okay, as it stands, our only COVID precautions for jury notice is that if you're not vaccinated, it's required. If there are any additional protections, I guess that will have to be assessed at the time of the jury trial to determine whether there's an increase, but We're proceeding with our standard jury selection with people in the room. Depends on.
Subject to change.
Round, yeah. Anything further we can accomplish, Mr. Mackey?
Oh, Your Honor.
Mr. Noble?
Not that I'm aware of, Your Honor.
Bond petitions will continue. If you change your mailing address, notify the court. You. Next matter is People versus Braden Alexander Black. This is file number 107109.
Rox, can you scoot down?
Is this the PCC, Your Honor?
That is probable cause conference, yes.
So we're gonna ask for an adjournment today because we just got new information.
Steinhoff, your microphone's not muted.
Thank you.
Your Honor, have you called the case yet?
Which case are we calling?
Yes, this is file 2107109, People versus Braden Alexander Black.
Your Honor, I think we're going to be able to resolve this case in the district court. I have to talk to Mrs. Denholm, but this is the case we presented this morning to you with the bond amendment. Mr. Black has a residence now. He's 17 years old, and we really just needed a place to get him residing rather than.
For our record, what is the current address?
Yeah.
Well, he was homeless. The current address is, I'd be care of the Case family. It's 1040 State Highway M35, Bark River 49807.
What's the zip code?
49807.
In care of what family? The
Case, C-A-S-E.
Okay. All right. The court will continue the bond on that matter. You say there are plea negotiations that are likely to resolve?
Yeah, I don't believe this will go to prelim, Your Honor.
Okay.
Would be your pleasure, Judge. Would you just like to schedule for plea and sentence then on the district court calendar?
I don't know if it's going to be resolved in district court or it's going to circuit court yet. So I think we'll just leave it set as exam on August 4th at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Got it.
Your Honor,
If it's resolved, we can resolve it on that day. Is that sufficient time?
yeah,
What day is it?
August 4th at 10 a.m.
I'm sure that would be fine.
yeah, we'll have it resolved by then, Your Honor.
And that way we don't have to send new notices out,
Correct.
understanding that it's likely to be resolved.
Yeah, that's in mind.
That's almost a surely done thing. Did you see?
And if there's a matter, if the matter is to be handled in district court, please have an amended complaint ready so we have the penalties and information.
It would be a plea to count two. It's already on there, Your Honor.
Okay.
So.
Well, count two is already on there. Okay.
Judge, do you have the Bono file up here?
I do.
Can I see that?
It's right there on top. You want to take that one next?
Your Honor, based on this paperwork, I will be dismissing that case, so you can skip over that one if you want.
And that's People versus
Bono.
Raymond Alexander Bono, file 2107113. Next matter is file 2107105, People versus Robert Maxwell Lamar. That case is being postponed. Defendant appeared this morning intoxicated for court.
Okay.
And cannot be arraigned because of his intoxication. Matter is People versus Robert Angelo Mitoski, file number 2107107.
I have not met with him.
Is Mr. Mitoski, is that you on the screen?
That is how we doing, Your Honor.
Thank you. Please state your full name.
Robert Angelo Mitoski.
Okay. Is your mailing address 34675 Mulvey, apartment 214, Fraser, Michigan?
Correct.
What is your date of birth?
7/21/97.
Thank you. Mr. Mitoski, the complaint filed by the state charges that on or about July 3rd, 2021 in the city of Manistee, Schoolcraft County, Michigan, you did, being the owner of a 2008 Chevy Silverado, a motor vehicle with respect to which security or insurance is required by law, you did operate said vehicle upon US 2 near Chippewa Avenue, a public highway in the state of Michigan, without having in full force and effect security or insurance complying with the law. Again, that's a misdemeanor known as operating a vehicle without insurance. It carries a maximum punishment of not more than 1 year in the county jail and a fine of not less than $200, no more than $500. Do you understand the charge and the possible maximum penalties?
I do, Your Honor.
To that charge, you have a number of rights. I'll go over them with you at this time. You have the right to plead guilty, not guilty, or stand mute. If you stand mute, a not guilty plea will be entered. You have a right to a trial by jury and the right to have the assistance of an attorney. You have the right to have an attorney appointed at public expense if you are without funds to hire an attorney. And Ms. Denholm, the public defender, is present in the courtroom, and you are allowed and have the right to consult with her before you make your decision on how you wish to plead. You also have the right to have a trial and to call witnesses to speak for you at trial. You may get an order signed by the court to require witnesses to come to court. You have the right to see, hear, and question all witnesses that testify against you at trial. You have the right to be a witness for yourself or remain silent. If you choose not to be a witness on your own behalf, the prosecutor may not comment on your refusal to testify. And you have the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. If you plead guilty, you'll be giving up all the rights I've just explained to you, and there will not be a trial of any kind, and you'll be giving up the right to have a lawyer represent you at public expense if you could not afford one. If you're on probation or parole for any offense, a guilty plea could be a violation of the probation or parole. Do you know how you wish to proceed at this time?
I'm gonna plead guilty.
Are you giving up the right to have a lawyer represent you?
Yeah.
Has anybody promised you anything in exchange to get you to plead guilty?
No, Your Honor.
Has anyone threatened or forced you to get you to plead guilty?
No, Your Honor.
Are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily and of your own choice?
Yes, Your Honor.
Were you operating a motor vehicle on July 3rd in the city of Manistee, Schoolcraft County, Michigan?
Yes, Your Honor.
What kind of vehicle were you operating?
It's a 2008 Chevy Cobalt, two-door.
Was this your vehicle?
Yes, Your Honor.
And did you have insurance on the vehicle?
No, I did not.
Why not?
I just finished graduating school. I'm still not currently working, still trying to get it together. And I just haven't been able to afford to get it yet. You know, it's kind of expensive for my age. So just trying to figure it all out right now as we speak.
Your Honor, can the court inquire whether he has insurance now?
Do you have insurance now on the vehicle?
I do not.
Okay. Are you refraining from operating the vehicle because you have no insurance?
I haven't. Are you asking me if I've been driving?
Yeah.
No, I have not. I have not.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Well, the court determines that your guilty plea was knowingly, voluntarily, and understandably made, that there is an accurate factual basis that warrants a finding of guilty because on the date and location alleged in the complaint, you did operate a motor vehicle, that you did not have insurance, and you knew that, therefore a judgment of guilty will be rendered. Is there anything you wish to say before I pronounce sentence that you want me to consider on your behalf?
No, Your Honor. I mean, I don't know what's gonna happen, but if no, I'm all set, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Do you have any prior record of driving without insurance?
Not that I know of, no. I've usually had it in my past, so.
All right. It'll be the sentence and judgment of the court. You pay fines and costs of $350 plus $125 in justice fees I'm required to add in every case. The total is $475 or 35 days in jail. How much time do you need to pay that $475?
If it's not too much to ask, can I have about 3 weeks, Your Honor?
I'll give you 60 days just to give you some wiggle room.
Okay, thank you.
Are you currently working?
Like I said, I just finished graduating trade school. I'm still my job. I'm waiting on calls. I had an interview last week, so you know it's all in motion right now.
All right. Well, make sure you take care of this within 60 days.
I will, Your Honor.
$475. Stay in contact with the court. If you change your mailing address, notify the court. Because if it's not paid in 60 days, the court's next procedure is they issue a bench warrant for your arrest. Okay?
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, one moment, please. Excuse me. Oh, 35 is the alternative. Okay, thank you. We'll mail you a copy of the judgment in the mail to the address you've given today. If you have questions, please contact the court. You're free to disconnect at this time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next matter is People versus Mackenzie A. Richmond. Richmond is Mr.
Yes, Your
Richmond.
Honor. Yeah, he should be under Jonah's iPhone, I think, on the screen.
Okay, it is. I see him now. This matter is set for pre-trial at 10. Is any resolution of this matter, Mr. Swajinan?
Not at this time, Your Honor. There's no resolution.
Do we know where Mr. Noble is?
He's on his way back in there, Judge.
Okay, thank you.
I know there's a companion.
So many warrants.
We're pre-trying the matter of People versus Mackenzie Richmond.
Yes.
On the charge of disorderly person.
And there's some companion cases also, Your Honor. There's also a custody case that we've had a hearing on most recently with the referee Cranham. And then there's also a case dealing with two PPOs, both the defendant and or defendant versus his the mother of his children, and then her mother also, Your Honor. So there's 2 PPO cases. There's a custody agreement out of that, and I believe there's another custody agreement coming down the pike. So that's why we've been dealing mostly with that.
The only matter for district court is this charge, I take it.
Correct. Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Any plea offers in the case, Mr. Noble?
At this point, there has been no plea offers. Obviously, my number one concern is getting this entire situation under control, based on what I know, based on what I can read in these reports. It just doesn't seem like an appropriate situation at all, dangerous situation.
Any motions by the defense, Mr. Swajana?
No, not at this time, Your Honor.
And the witnesses for the people are those on the complaint. Are there any additional?
I'm double checking. And I don't believe it would even include all of those because some of those are minor children. I believe the primary ones are the top 3, Perdocus, Martin, and Reno.
Thank you. Do you have any exhibits?
I will have to check to see what the video shows on this, because there was some home video, if you will, of some of the incident, and I have to see exactly what we have. That's possible.
Okay. Any witnesses for the defense?
Yes, Your Honor. Right now, we would have Stacy Young and Sammy Click.
All right. Any exhibits by the defense?
Not at this stage, but Mr. Noble, if you can get me that video or any possible video on that.
Yep, as soon as I get copies of it, if we have it. It mentions that there was video reviewed in the report, so I'm just making sure we have copies of it.
That sounds good. Thank you.
Questioning the matter be set for jury trial, Mr. Swajana?
Yes, Your Honor, at this stage. As long down the road as we can, because we still have this discovery issue and everything else. Plus, gives a little bit of a time for the other stuff to weed itself out, Your Honor.
We'll set the matter then for jury trial. We'll try to work with everybody to get a trial date.
Yes, Your Honor.
Anything further we can accomplish at this time?
Nothing to people.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Have a good day.
You too. Thank you.
Next matter is People versus Markdale Reno, file 210710A. State your full name, sir.
Markdale Reno.
Is your mailing address 1402 N Kendall Road, Manistee?
Yes, sir.
What is your date of birth?
4/12/61.
Thank you. Mr. Reno, the complaint filed by the state charges that on or about June 27, 2021 in Thompson Township of Schoolcraft County, Michigan, you did operate a motor vehicle upon M149 near Sandy Shores, a highway, while your operator's license was suspended or revoked as prohibited by law. That is a misdemeanor that carries up to 93 days in the county jail and a fine of up to $500 and possible vehicle immobilization. Also, the Secretary of State could take further action against your driver's license based on your driving record. Do you understand the charge and the possible maximum penalties?
Yes.
To that charge, you have a number of rights. Did you receive the advice of rights form?
Yes, I did. I signed it, but I left it there and it's gone.
Okay, we'll have you sign another copy then. Ms. Denholm here? Yes. Need her back in the courtroom. Did you read and understand all the rights listed on
Yes,
the
sir.
advice of rights form?
Yes, sir.
And did you sign and date it as well?
Yes.
Thank you. To this charge, you have the right to plead guilty, not guilty, or stand mute and say nothing at all. If you plead not guilty or stand mute, I'll set the matter for further proceedings. If you plead guilty, you'll be giving up all the rights listed on the advice of rights form, and there will not be a trial of any kind. If you are on probation or parole for any offense, a guilty plea could be a violation of that probation. Also, or parole. Also, you have the right to have an attorney represent you. If you cannot afford one, the court would appoint one at public expense. And Ms. Denholm is available to consult with us, the public defender, if you wish to do so before you decide how you want to proceed. And that would be at no cost to you. Do you know how you wish to proceed at this time?
Yes, sir. I'm gonna plead not guilty at this time.
Are you requesting court-appointed attorney?
No.
I've already spoken with Mr. Reno about this, Your Honor.
All right, so you're waiving or giving up your right to have an attorney represent you
Yes,
at
sir.
public expense. Are you going to hire an attorney?
No, I'm one of.
So you're giving up the right to hire your own attorney and represent yourself?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you have a right to represent yourself in this matter.
And Mr. Reno wanted to talk to me beforehand, but had mentioned that he'd spoken with an attorney. So I said, Your Honor, or I said to Mr. Reno, please go get arraigned, so he knew his rights, so there wasn't any ethical issues for me. I have no problem talking to Mr. Reno now that he's waived that, and I'll do so.
If you decide you need an attorney, contact the court immediately. Again, we always recommend people have an attorney. If you want one and you cannot afford one, the court would appoint the public defender's office to represent you. If you change your mailing address, notify the court immediately. We'll be sending you a notice for your next court appearance in this matter. Any questions, sir?
No, thank you.
All right, you're free to go. Thank you, sir.
Give my office a call tomorrow.
Okay.
Next matter is People versus Christopher Sean Bryant. This is file 2106085.
Your Honor, this is going to be a contested prelim. I'm going to suggest if we have any other quick arraignments to get through.
I think we do.
We have one more arraignment, and then we have several pre-trials as well that maybe we could.
So let's get those, they're all set for the same time. Let's get through the pre-trials and arraignment, and then we'll go the contested.
And I don't think it's gonna, I think we only have, you're gonna be requesting a continuance, right?
I will. I'm going to have two witnesses this morning.
Okay.
They're very brief, Your Honor. But
And Mr. Steinoff, which case are you involved with?
Swisher,
Your Honor, thank you, Your Honor. That's 21-7-101. Swisher.
What's the? Okay, all right. We'll take that matter next then. It's a matter of People versus Isaac Richard Swisher, file 2107101.
I'm not sure. Are we calling Swisher, Your Honor?
I am.
Okay.
This matter is set for pre-trial. Any resolution of this matter before we proceed?
Your Honor, it's my understanding that there is no resolution at this time. Counsel provided me with some reference documents that may have an effect on the disposition of the case. This was, I believe, the day before yesterday. I'd like to review these documents and see what effect they'll have on the case. There seems to be a dispute as to certain factual issues related to the case. For that reason, I'm going to ask for an additional pretrial for about 3 to 4 weeks so that I can review this, make an offer if necessary, or take other appropriate action.
I would agree with that request, Ron. I think that we can probably work something, well, that there's a good possibility that the case can be resolved.
So 3 weeks or so should be sufficient?
I would think so.
Would you agree, Mr. Stein?
Yes, thank you.
We'll set it for final pretrial in about 3 weeks. If there's any motions to be filed, please have them noticed and heard for that date. Anything further we can accomplish on that matter?
Nothing from the people, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you. That'll complete this matter.
We'll see you later.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes. it's set for pretrial. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Bye. Next matter is People versus Lee, Pfeiffer, Gustafson, file 2006092. This matter has been set for pretrial. Do we have anyone available on Zoom?
For which one?
People versus Lee, Pfeiffer, Gustafson.
Your Honor, my office sent a nollie down. You may just not have received it yet. That case is being dismissed, Your Honor. That was agreed to yesterday with me and the defense counsel. You should have received it. If not, it will be coming down the paperwork.
Okay. Find that upon receipt.
Yes.
Matter will stand dismissed. Next matter is People versus Justin Jeffrey Hyde, file number 2007113. This matter is a charge of reckless driving and it's been set for a pretrial today. Any resolution of that matter?
Your Honor, I have made several different offers. I don't see Mr. Hyde, the attorney, who is the attorney in this matter.
Mr. George Hyde appearing today. This matter was set for 10 a.m.
I have made, Your Honor, I can disclose for the record, I've made several plea offers. I believe made a recent one that I thought was, I wasn't sure where it was. As far as I'm concerned, if that doesn't get accepted, we should be setting this for trial. This case has been delayed a couple of times, primarily due to COVID. I think we had a previous trial date that got kicked. As you can see, this occurred last July, right in the middle of that fiasco.
We've pre-tried this case more than once.
Yes, we've had to, we've tried to have a trial on this a couple of times.
It was set for jury trial on January 13th of this year, and because of COVID, it was moved to May 12th. The file does not indicate why it was moved to today for a pretrial, and I don't recall.
We did not have a trial at that point, Your Honor. I can't remember exactly what happened. It was either.
Your Honor, it was set for, this is just a case of languishing. This appeared on our delays in criminal proceedings report, so it was just scheduled for a pretrial as a means to pick a direction. We was several hundred days overdue, and that's why you have it in front of you today.
And the people are ready to either go to trial or accept the plea offer, whichever defense wants to do, but I don't know because they're not.
All right. Well, I guess the notice went out on July 12th for defendant and counsel to appear. The court will issue an order to show cause on the defendant for failure to appear, to show cause why he should not be held in contempt of court for failing to appear for today's pretrial. The court will also issue an order to show cause against the attorney, Mr. George Hyde, to show cause why he should not be held in contempt for failure to appear. And we'll set the matter for a jury trial. Anything further at this time?
Not this time, man.
Okay, thank you. Next matter is People versus Caleb Douglas Metcalf, file number 2102030. This matter set for pretrial today. Any resolution of this matter?
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning, Mr. Ingles.
Nope, sorry.
That's all right. I was wondering if I could have 5 minutes with Mr. Noble.
All right.
We're here, and I have Mr. Metcalf.
If you want to arraign Ackley, I'll talk to him while you're arraigning Ackley.
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you. Next matter is People versus Caleb Paul Ackley, file 2107121. Please state your full name, sir.
Caleb Paul Ackley.
Okay. Is your mailing address 607 8th Street, Manistee?
Yes, sir.
What is your date of birth?
5991.
Thank you. Mr. Ackley, the charge filed by the state alleges that on or about July 27, 2021, in the city of Manistee, Schoolcraft County, Michigan, you did make an assault or an assault battery upon Megan Myron, an individual with whom you had a dating relationship contrary to law. This is a misdemeanor known as domestic violence. It carries a maximum punishment of up to 93 days in the county jail, a fine of up to $500. Do you understand the charge and the possible maximum penalties?
Yes, sir.
Did you receive the advice of rights form today?
Yes, sir.
Did you read and understand all the rights listed on that form? Did you sign and date the form?
Yes, sir.
To this charge, you have the right to plead guilty, not guilty, or stand mute and say nothing at all. If you plead not guilty or stand mute, I'll set the matter for further proceedings. If you plead guilty, you'll be waiving or giving up all the rights listed on the advice of rights form, and there will not be a trial of any kind. If you are on probation or parole, a guilty plea could be a violation of that probation or parole. And if you plead guilty, you'll be giving up the right to have a lawyer represent you at public expense if you could not afford one. And Ms. Denholm is available if you wish to consult with her, if you want to do so, to decide what you should do. Ms. Denholm, do you know how Mr. Ackley wishes to proceed?
Mr. Ackley will be entering a plea of not guilty at this time and requesting appointment of counsel.
Based on the do you believe he's qualified for court-appointed attorney?
Yes, Your Honor. He has two dependents, and that raises his qualification.
All
So
right.
he does meet guidelines.
Even with the income that's stated on the application. Okay. The court determined you are qualified for court-appointed counsel, and the court will appoint the Schoolcraft County Public Defender to represent you. It'll be your responsibility to stay in contact with your lawyer, just as if you hired her. If you change your mailing address, you must immediately notify the court. Also, there's a condition of your bond that you're not use intoxicants, any illicit controlled substances, or marijuana, and that you have no contact with Megan Myron. Can you follow those conditions?
Yes.
I'll continue your bond at this time. You're free to go. Thank you, sir.
I think we need to update his mailing address.
Oh, I just asked them what his mailing.
Well, that's where I live, but I'm letting her stay there.
Okay, what is your mailing address at this time?
5772W, US Highway 2. Manistee.
Okay, thank you, sir. You're free to go.
Thank you.
We'll mail the notices then to that new address. Ready to proceed on the Metcalf matter?
Well, do we want to do something with Mr. Lamar, who's still waiting in the home?
Who?
Mr. Lamar, who had,
My understanding was he's awaiting transport to the jail. Has that been accomplished?
he's going to be requesting appointment of counsel, and I think he does qualify, so I wonder if we could do that.
We can do that much on that.
Know what the city gave, and I don't know what happened. He's still out in the hallway.
All right, well, we'll do some more. Why don't I proceed then?
Do you want to do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to because the city came and then they left and he's just standing out there.
Mr. Lamar, you want to come up front?
Okay.
I just signed that advice of rights.
Wasn't there a condition of no use put on the bond? All right, thank you. All right. This is file 2107105, People versus Robert Maxwell Lamar. It's come to the court's attention on this charge of abandoning cruelty to animals that the defendant appeared in court this morning with a .08 BAC. I hesitate to do an arraignment because in the court's mind, that's evidence of legal intoxication. So what the court is going to do is adjourn the arraignment, appoint counsel for the defendant based on the application the court has received, add a condition of the bond that there be no consumption of intoxicants, illicit controlled substances, or marijuana while the court case is pending. The court will, yes.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
If no use of intoxicants was not a part of his bond.
I know that. And so I'm gonna set it at this time and reset the matter for arraignment. I just don't feel comfortable doing an arraignment and asking the defendant if he understands his rights when he's legally intoxicated. So we'll reset the matter for arraignment. You are Robert Maxwell Lamar?
Yes.
Okay, you understand there's a bond condition from now on, from this moment forward, that you're not using intoxicants or any illicit controlled substances or marijuana. Can you do that from this moment forward?
Absolutely.
And is your mailing address 6653 County Road 440, Manistee?
Yes.
All right, we'll mail you a notice when to appear for arraignment, and you'll need to reappear. Make sure you're clean and sober on that date. All right, anything further on this matter? I've appointed a lawyer to represent you, Ms. Denholm. It'll be your responsibility to stay in contact with her just as if you hired her. That matters in recess.
You're free to go.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Send you a notice.
My apologies.
Are we ready to proceed on the Metcalf matter?
Just about, Your Honor, yes, you're ready.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
1 minute, please.
Absolutely.
Court will be in recess.
Judge, your microphone is muted in there. I don't know if that's intentional or not, but you're not on.
Go ahead.
The only other thing is, if it's acceptable to the court, I'd prefer to stand and have my client as well, just because that's the way we've always done it.
That's the way it should be done.
All right, thank you. My understanding of the agreement we've reached is that the count one will be dismissed in lieu of a plea to driving while impaired, and the second offense notice will not be part of this plea or ultimately any sentencing.
That is correct, Your Honor. And I would also suggest, and I know this isn't per se a part of the plea, but that substance treatment court, one of the specialty courts, if applicable, be explored in this case.
Okay.
Willing to do that.
Okay, thank you. Please state your full name, sir.
Caleb Douglas Metcalf.
Is your mailing address N8922 Cross Road, Engadine, Michigan?
Yes, Your Honor.
What is your date of birth?
10/26/96.
Thank you, Mr. Metcalf. You've heard the plea agreement as stated here today on the record. Is that also your understanding of the plea agreement?
Yes.
Did you receive the advice of rights form?
Yes.
Did you read and understand all of the rights listed on that form?
Yes.
And did you sign and date the form?
Yes.
Do you understand by pleading guilty to impaired driving that you'll be giving up all the rights listed on the advice of rights form and there will not be a trial of any kind?
Yes.
On behalf of your client, Mr. Ingleson, what plea does he wish to offer to operating while impaired?
He'll offer to plead guilty.
Is that guilty plea entered with your consent, Mr. Metcalf?
Yes.
Other than the plea agreement as stated here today on the record, has anybody promised you anything in exchange to get you to plead guilty?
No.
Has anyone threatened or forced you to get you to plead guilty?
No.
Are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily and of your own choice?
Yes.
Were you operating a vehicle on M28 near M77 in Seney Township of Schoolcraft County back on February 14th of this year when this happened?
Yes.
What vehicle were you operating?
Like what model or?
Yeah.
My little Toyota car, Corolla.
Was this your vehicle?
Yes.
Do you know why the police pulled your vehicle over?
They didn't.
Did you have an accident?
Yes.
And tell me what happened.
It was storming bad. I couldn't see and someone was pulled over on the side of the road. I tried to miss him and clipped him.
Okay, so you hit another vehicle?
Yeah.
Was anybody injured?
Yes.
Who?
Me and my buddy.
And was anyone else in the other vehicle injured?
Someone had a black eye. Pretty sure that's about it.
And did you consume any alcoholic beverages before you went driving?
Yes.
How much and what?
I don't know.
What?
I drank some beer.
How much beer?
I don't know.
You have any idea? I mean, was it 10 or was it 20? Was it 1 or 2? A lot?
Probably, yeah.
What kind of beer were you drinking?
Busch Light.
Okay. And as a result of your arrest, did you take a blood test?
Yes.
What was the result?
I don't know.
Your Honor, I have a lab report in front of me that reads a .134.
I agree.
Okay, thank you. Are you satisfied with the record, Mr. Ingles?
I am, Your Honor.
Are you also, Mr. Noble?
Yes. Obviously, all the facts are always a little bit different. We'll discuss that at sentencing, but from a factual basis, I believe there's we can accept.
Well, the court determines that your guilty plea was knowingly, voluntarily, and understandably made, and that there is an accurate factual basis that warrants a finding of guilty because on the date and location alleged in the complaint, you did consume a substantial amount of beer, that your blood alcohol was over the legal limit, and again, that you operated a motor vehicle. Therefore, a judgment of guilty will be rendered to operating while impaired. We'll set the matter for sentencing at a later date. Under Michigan law, you are required to undergo screening for substance abuse. Your lawyer can help you set that up. We'll set the matter for sentencing. Also, you'll need to meet with staff, set up an appointment for your assessment and eligibility for our treatment court program. You can do that this morning, set up that appointment. There is a condition of your bond that you not use any intoxicants, illicit controlled substances, or marijuana. Important that you follow that because we can test you at any time. Would you test positive today for alcohol or drugs if we tested you? No. Are you sure?
Positive.
Okay, good. All right, I'll continue your bond at this time. Anything further?
Nothing, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Next matter is People versus Christopher Sean Bryant. This is file number 2106085.
Your Honor, can I just inquire from the people's perspective? I heard that there was going to be, perhaps this was going to be a short proceeding. We've got a specialty court function that's noticed for 11. Is this going to be something you want to wait until 11:15 to take up, or what's your pleasure there?
I think that this case shouldn't last, Mr. Ruiz, 15 minutes.
I don't think it's been very long either, Your Honor.
Okay, we'll take this matter.
Okay, thank you, Judge.
Judge, I need to call Jackie.
We have to grab a different court recorder, Your Honor, because she's a witness.
We have one. We have one ahead of time.
I need to call Jackie because she has to record this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We'll take a short recess while we get the court recorder for this matter.
Ms. Boyle, can you bring the files that the judge currently has with you when you come back?
Yes. Hey, I'm ready for you. All right, thanks.
I need to make sure the ROA has contained all the updated information that I've written in the file. Okay. All right, thanks. I'll be right back.
Oh, you need to be here.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm testing. You're here.
Why do you do that,
Hold on a minute. Here's my. Okay, he's good.
All rise. Back in session.
Please be seated. Mr. Maddox, that notice we're sending out on the show causes on the Hyde case, if you could please indicate that in-person appearance is mandatory. I won't accept a Zoom appearance on that. And that includes both the defendant and attorney. Next matter is People versus Christopher Sean Bryant, file number 2106085. This matter is set for preliminary exam. Are the people ready to proceed?
Partially, yes, Your Honor, and just so the court's aware, I've had conversations with Mr. Ruiz. Some of my witnesses are unavailable today. One of my troopers actually just got transferred to another post, so I'm gonna have to get him back here or available by Zoom. And another witness was out of town. So we are going to start the preliminary exam today. As Mr. Ruiz knows, I have 2 witnesses today. It should be very short, and the primary witness will be coming at a later date. There shouldn't be any prejudice to the defendant. He's still in jail from the probation violation and is not going anywhere for the immediate future. So we can continue this to a later date after I get this testimony today.
All right. Any preliminary remarks from the defense, Mr. Ruiz?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, sir. You may call your first witness.
People called Diana Herlick. And just for the record, I had Ms. Boyle wait outside since she's also going to be testifying briefly.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Please be seated. You may proceed, Mr. Noble.
Thank you. Can you give your name, spelling, the last for the record, please?
Diana Herlick, Herlik.
And where do you work, Ms. Herlick?
Schoolcraft County Sheriff's Office.
Okay, and as one of your duties, are you a deputized licensed police officer in the state of Michigan?
Yes.
And on or about June 2nd of this year, did you respond to the scene of a traffic accident?
Yes.
And where was that located?
On County Road 432. It was dispatched as north of Purnett Road.
And where are we at in the county with that roughly?
In Gulliver.
Okay, so we're in the Gulliver area now in Schoolcraft County, correct?
Correct.
And when you arrived on scene, what did you observe?
When I arrived on scene, there was a motor carrier officer there, and I observed a motorcycle laying on its side with what appeared to be a tow strap that was attached to the motorcycle.
Where was it attached to the motorcycle? Do you recall?
To I believe it was the front forks of the motorcycle.
Okay.
And it was stretched out, and it was not attached to anything on the other end. It was just laying in the road, way loose.
Okay. What else did you observe on scene?
I observed some marks, what appeared to be recent marks from the motorcycle in the pavement, and I observed a hat and a towel on the east edge of the roadway.
Anything on the towel?
I don't recall anything.
Okay. Was anyone there? Any people?
Yes, this happened right in front of a residence, apparently.
Okay. Did you speak with anyone on scene?
I did.
Okay, now we're not going to get into what that person told you. When I get him here, he'll testify to that. But I want to ask you, based on that conversation, what did you do next?
Well, based on the conversation, I was led to believe that the vehicle that was involved in towing was a black pickup truck similar to a Chevy S10 and described as a smashed windshield. And at that time, when I was initially on scene, I should say, just as I was taking everything in, dispatch gave an update that the injured party, the person that was injured in this incident, was taken to a personal residence further south on County Road 432.
And Your Honor, for the purposes, I guess for the purposes of, I'd object on hearsay on the basis that there was actually an injury, substantive evidence. I think it would come in based on just, not for the truth of the matter asserted as to what this officer did.
Right. I'm just offering this as to help describe her next actions with regard to.
Allowed for that purpose.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Because then at that point,
What did you do next?
Sioux Tribe officer showed up, said he would respond to that residence for follow-up. I proceeded to check out the scene, speak with witnesses, and speak with the trooper. And the information that I learned was that there could have been a significant injury involved with this incident. So I requested an accident investigator be called out.
Okay. And do you know if that happened?
Yes.
Okay.
That Trooper Guthrie contacted MSP, asked for him on my behalf to have him come out to that place.
Okay. Now, just a moment ago, you mentioned that an injured party arrived at a residence.
Correct.
Do you know where that residence was?
It was broadcasted as 1163 County Road 432.
And was that the actual residence?
No.
Okay, and what was the actual residence?
I was requested to respond to that residence by Trooper Saffer. And when I arrived at that residence, it was actually 1164 and County Road 432.
And when you arrived at that residence, what did you observe?
I observed parked in the backyard. There was another vehicle, but there was a black pickup with a windshield that was severely spider cracked. That would fit, to me, fit the description.
And
that
did you
was
see any evidence of injuries?
When I approached the vehicle, you had to walk by the back porch. I observed as I walked by the back porch, there was blood droplets on the porch leading to the residence. And when I checked out the vehicle, there was a significant amount of blood in the passenger side.
Okay. Did you, on scene there, apprehend anyone?
Negative.
Okay. Did you develop a suspect?
Yes, because while I was preceded there, I was contacted by a probation agent with District Court, Abby Burton, who informed me that she had information that an individual by the name of Chris Bryant he was on probation at the time, and they have an app on his phone, 360 program, and that app had been showing him he had been racing up and down County Road 432.
Okay, and I'm
going to object to hearsay, Your Honor.
And I would agree what Ms. Burton said would be hearsay. Actually, I'm going to have the other witness come in and testify about that. So through your investigation, though, you developed a suspect of Chris Bryant.
Correct.
At some point, did you speak to Chris Bryant?
I did.
Where was that at?
He was arrested, I believe, on a probation violation warrant, and was at the Schoolcraft County Sheriff's Office. So I believe he was arrested on 6/3. So on 6/4, I had him brought to the booking room, and I read him his Miranda rights, and I asked him if he understood them, which he said yes, and he requested an attorney.
Okay. Did you continue questioning him at that point?
I did not continue questioning him. I had him sign the form, and then while I was signing the form, Mr. Bryant made a unsolicited statement that he says, yeah, I knew I screwed up. I shouldn't have left the scene, but it really upset me to see my buddy in that condition.
Okay. Did you ask him any questions about the accident after he had invoked his Miranda rights?
No.
Okay. Other than that statement he made, as you both were signing those documents, did he make any other statements to you?
Not that I can.
Okay.
I did make, when he said that, it bothered him to see the buddy in that condition, I did make the statement that he didn't even call and report this. And then he answered, my girlfriend did.
Okay.
And that was it.
Okay. Then at this point, for this witness, Your Honor, I have no further questions for this witness.
Okay, cross-examination.
I'm sorry. There was one follow-up question. Did you run the driving status of Mr. Bryant?
Yes.
And do you know when you ran that approximately?
I don't know the exact.
Do you know what the results were on or about 6/2 of his
He showed that
license?
he was revoked.
Thank you.
Deputy Hurley, besides the medical training that you received as a deputy, are you like a paramedic or an EMT or anything to that effect?
I'm an advanced EMT.
Okay. And as an advanced EMT, you're licensed as an EMT, correct? And in terms of when you got to this residence at 1164 County Road, you said it's 432?
County Road 432.
Yep. Did you come into contact with anyone there?
I did at the Sioux Tribe officer, Norman Saffer was there.
Okay.
And we made contact with the people at the residence.
There were people at the residence?
Correct.
How many people were at the residence?
There were 2 adults and I believe 3 children.
Okay. And who were the adults that you came into contact with?
It was Casey Berkeley, I believe her name is, and I'd have to refer to my report for the name of the other lady.
Well, did any one of those individuals appear to be bleeding or be suffering wounds?
Neither one.
Okay, so in fact, in terms of the blood that you came across, you have no idea, you never observed where that blood came from?
At that time, when I made contact, no, but they did let me search the residence.
Or did you find somebody in the residence that was bleeding?
No, but we did find blood in the bathroom.
Which residence are you referring?
1164 and County Road 432.
And you didn't witness the crash for yourself, correct?
I did not.
Okay. Describe these marks for me that were in the road that you observed.
They appeared to be like gouges from like stuck, like the foot pegs or whatever, or something from the motorcycle had kind of gouged.
Okay, so they weren't skid marks from tires. It was like a I guess a dig or a cut to the pavement. Okay, and you're not an accident reconstructionist yourself, but somebody was called.
Yes.
Okay, from the Mission City Police.
Yes.
And since you didn't see anyone bleeding, you can't tell me if it was one or multiple people, correct?
Correct.
And this toe strap itself was not attached to anything at the time that you came across it?
It was attached to the motorcycle.
Besides the motorcycle?
The other end was not attached.
And you said it was attached to the front fork, correct?
That's, I guess, I'm not a big motorcycle person, but that's what it appeared to me, is what I would call it.
Front?
The front of the motorcycle.
Okay, it was not attached to the rear.
Correct.
And you said that you interviewed a number of individuals. Besides the individuals at the home, who else did you interview on scene?
There was the owner of the residence that was right where the incident occurred, Willie Tyler.
All right, I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any redirect?
No redirect at this time, Your Honor.
Next witness. Thank you. You may step down.
People will call Gracie Boyle.
Should be noted that Gracie Boyle is an employee of the 93rd District Court as probation officer and court recorder.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Forward. You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Please be seated, ma'am. You may proceed when you're ready, Mr. Knowles.
Thank you. Ms. Boyle, it was just noted by the judge, but can you tell for the record who you work for?
Yes, I am a probation agent for the 93rd District Court.
And as part of your duties, was one of your people you were supervising, Chris Bryant?
Yes,
And you see Mr. Bryant here in the court?
yes.
And where is he located?
I'm a defense table in Orange.
Thank you. And on or about June 2nd of this year, were you supervising Mr. Bryant?
Yes,
As part of probation, there's what's known as the Life 360 Tracker app, and I'm paraphrasing it. I don't know the full legal name of it, but are you familiar with that program?
yes,
And do you monitor that program?
yes,
Was Mr. Bryant using that program?
yes.
For the record, can you tell us what that program basically does?
So it's an application that tracks their cell phone, how fast they're going, where they're at, if they leave home, if they go to work.
And how do you monitor that?
I just look on it every once in a while, or if I get a notification that says this person left home, I usually look to see where they're going.
Okay. And were you doing that for Mr. Bryant on that day?
Yes.
And can you please tell the court what you could see on that day?
So I was trying to get a hold of him and I couldn't get a hold of him. So
When you're saying him, are we talking Mr. Bryant?
Yes.
Okay.
So I looked on the Life 360 app and Mr. Bryant was driving down the road at 80 miles an hour.
Okay, what road?
North Gulliver Road, I believe it is.
Okay, so it's in Gulliver?
Yeah, the
Sad.
road where the Crossroads gas station is.
Okay. And, well, how do you know he was driving that fast? Let me rephrase that. Based on your app, you don't know physically if it's him driving. You only know that it's his phone is doing that, correct?
Right, it tells me the top speed that he was going. And if it's moving, it tells me the speed that he was currently going at.
But again, it's only his phone, it's not him specifically. You don't know, that phone theoretically could be in his friend's pocket or something else, correct?
Correct.
What did you do with that information?
I had heard on the radio that the police were out on an accident and heard about a motorcycle and a truck. And I saw Mr. Bryant's location on that road, so I got a hold of Diana Hurlick and I asked her if that was the case, if she was going out there, and I gave her that information.
Okay. Did you ever talk to Mr. Bryant about this incident?
Yes, I did.
And what was the purpose of that conversation?
So the day after he actually turned himself in to the state police, and we talked about the situation. He said that he was pulling a motorcycle on a tow rope or a tow strap, and he just said he messed up. He made a
Your Honor, I have no further questions for this witness.
Cross-examination.
When you check this Life 360 tracker app for his speed, was it before or after you gained knowledge of the accident?
It was after.
Okay, so you heard about the accident and you saw, then you looked at the app and you saw that he was going 80 miles an hour.
Correct.
Okay. Did you know how long he was going 80 miles an hour for?
I don't know exactly how long he was going.
Do you know where the 360, where his phone with this app eventually stopped?
At his house, I believe.
And what do you know as his probation agent? What do you know as being his residence? What's the address?
So he was currently residing with his girlfriend on County Road or North Gulliver.
Is that Casey?
Yes.
Why was it significant to you that he was going 80 miles an hour?
Because that was really fast and was wondering what.
All right, I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Anything further?
At this point, Your Honor, no further questions for this witness.
Thank you, ma'am. You may step down. Anything further at this stage?
At this point, the people are going to seek an adjournment so we can bring the other witnesses in that were witnesses that day that were leading to some of those hearsay problems.
How much time do you need?
My understanding, I believe, I don't see my staff member. He said he's going to be back. Oh, no, it's Charity that told me that. I'm sorry. I believe the witness is going to be back next week, Your Honor, so
All right.
a week or two and I can
2 to
have that.
3 weeks from now?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we'll try to work with everyone, reschedule that. In the meantime, I'm gonna continue bond as currently. See the sheriff.
What is bond currently set at? Just, Your Honor, just so I know.
You know, I don't know. It's not in the.
As long as it's not a PR bond, because I just want to make sure he's getting credit for what he's in here for. That's all.
Definitely.
I agree that he gets credit for this
Okay.
either way. We can make that a part of the record. Regardless of what happens, Mr. Bryant should be getting credit for this
Okay.
as well.
All right.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Court will be in recess. We'll take the probation violation after lunch. I'm gonna commence the treatment club program at this time.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah, we're all set. Yeah, I'll be in contact.
All right, sounds good then.
Thank you, Ms. Parker, for your assistance this morning. Your Honor, I believe that regardless of what order you go in, the rest of the matters are considered treatment court matters. So unless you have anything besides your graduation and your probation violation hearing, I think that you can probably, I can stop the broadcast anyway.
Yeah, go ahead, because we'll be handling the treatment court graduations right now, and then
All right,
we'll
very
do
good.
the probation violation after.
Yeah, you can leave the